Welcome back to another explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to be with you today because we are going to completely redefine something that honestly, we all strive for. We all struggle with it, and it literally dictates the trajectory of our entire lives. I'm talking about discipline. But actually, scratch that. We're not just talking about, setting an alarm early or writing down a cute little to-do list. No way. We're looking at a paradigm shift that is so profound, it will fundamentally alter how you approach your biggest goals. We're exploring what the source text calls the scariest level of discipline.
Okay, let's dive into this concept right off the bat. The scariest level of discipline, mastery without an audience. I really want you to let that sink in for a second. Why exactly is it scary? Well, because human beings are deeply, inherently social creatures, right? We crave validation. We absolutely want people to see our hard work. But the source material is challenging us to just strip all of that away. The argument here is that true, unshakable mastery only happens in the dark. It happens when absolutely no one is watching and when no one is cheering you on.
Which brings us to a massive psychological roadblock. It's a question I want you to ask yourself right now. Why do our brains trick us into failing at our goals? I mean, we've all been there, right? You buy that brand new, expensive planner on January 1st, only to completely bury it in a junk drawer by January 8th. You start off feeling incredibly motivated, but within a week, that motivation just vanishes, and you completely sabotage yourself. Well, it turns out, this isn't a lack of willpower or character on your part. It's actually a biological trick your brain is playing on you. And to beat it, we're going to have to rethink everything we know.
So, let's start by breaking down Section 1, the illusion of discipline. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive conflict we're dealing with today. On one side, you've got what most of us do, which is a routine for show. The gym selfie. The loud announcement on social media that you're finally writing that book or starting a new diet. But on the other side, we have the alternative, mastery without an audience. Just look at the aggressive contrast here. The performative routine literally requires constant external input just to survive, whereas true mastery, it's entirely self-sustaining.
The source material makes a really bold argument here. It states that true discipline is not a routine performed for show. In fact, our modern concept of discipline is fundamentally flawed just because it relies so heavily on being seen by others. Think about it. If your ability to stick to a really difficult task completely disappears the second nobody is there to validate you, well, you don't actually have discipline. What you have is a performance. And performances are exhausting to keep up when the curtain finally drops.
So what's the reality here? How do we actually fix this? Let's move into Section 2, Mastering True Automaticity. This introduces us to a fascinating concept called automaticity. Simply put, it's the ability to act without needing a dopamine rush or external praise. Think about the most basic, ingrained habits in your everyday life, like brushing your teeth. You don't need a crowd of people clapping for you to go do it, right? You don't need a massive artificial surge of dopamine to get it done. It just happens. The source reveals that true discipline is actually the complete lack of a struggle. It means functioning entirely without the crutch of external rewards.
So what does this look like in practice? When you operate with automaticity, you don't require a dopamine rush, and you don't rely on external praise. It completely replaces those exhausting performative routines we just talked about. And when you finally strip away that desperate need for validation, something truly incredible happens. Those monumental, incredibly difficult tasks that used to require like a huge pep talk and the absolute perfect hype playlist, they suddenly just become seamless, automatic actions. You just do them, period.
But getting to that level means we have to defeat a pretty sneaky psychological villain. Let's break down Section 3, the dopamine trap.
So here is exactly how the trap works. It usually starts innocently enough. Step 1, you announce your exciting new goal to your friends or you post it online. Almost immediately, Step 2, you receive external praise. People are hyping you up, telling you how proud they are. But here is the danger zone. Step 3, your brain gets a massive dopamine rush from all that praise, and chemically, it feels as though it has already won.
So the crucial point is this: external praise tricks the brain into feeling the victory is already achieved. Your brain honestly cannot tell the difference between the dopamine you get from actually crossing the finish line and the dopamine you get from someone just congratulating you at the starting line. By seeking out that early validation, you actually drain the exact chemical drive you needed to actually execute the hard work. You've basically consumed the reward before even doing the task. I really want you to take a second and deeply reflect on this. Are you acting for the result? Are you acting for the dopamine rush of the applause? When you set out to achieve something great, is your true objective the actual mastery of the craft, or is it just the temporary, fleeting rush of external validation? Being brutally honest with yourself about this is literally the only way to break out of the trap.
So,
If we want to build unshakable discipline, we have to change our behavior. Let's look at our final part, Section 4, Moving in Silence.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that it gives us the exact playbook of the highly disciplined. First, they operate with automaticity, meaning absolutely no hype. Second, they move in silence, meaning no grand announcements. And by doing those two things, they achieve the third. They successfully avoid tricking their own brains. They keep their dopamine reserves completely locked down, saving all that vital energy for the actual execution of the work itself.
The mandate from the source material is incredibly clear, and honestly, it's highly practical. Move in silence to avoid the trap of a premature dopamine rush. If you want to bypass your brain's biological vulnerability to fake victories, you literally have to just shut your mouth and do the work. By keeping your goals completely to yourself, you force your brain to seek its dopamine reward not from the applause of other people, but from the actual undeniable completion of the task itself.
Which leaves us with one final vital question to close out this explainer. I want you to look at your own life, look at your absolute biggest ambitions, and ask yourself right now, are you moving in silence, or are you just tricking your brain? True discipline is scary because it is an utterly solitary pursuit. But mastery without an audience is the only mastery that actually lasts. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I challenge you to take your very next big step in complete silence.